Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, we have got so many new cards to be having a little bit of a chat about. We're doing that lovely thing where we round up all of the cards we've not yet talked about from Paradigm Trigger, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, right? There are a lot of cards that we need to be having a little bit of a chat about today. I want to say 22, I could be wrong. And yes, some of these are very much binder fodder, but some of these are legitimately good. So with all of that borne in mind, quick shout out to the lovely Joe over at Cerebi.net, a very lovely person, and someone who helps out with the translations, because they come from the lovely Joe over at Cerebi.net. And me, because a lot of these simpler cards I can translate by myself pretty confidently now, and that makes me very happy. So starting off then, we've got ourselves a Blossom, 2 energy, flip 3 coins, 80 for each heads, switch this Pokemon with one of your bench. Yes, I like being able to potentially do 240. Yes, I like switching to the bench, but it's flippy and it's on a stage 2. It's not going to work often enough for me to get excited about it. You could absolutely play around with this. We've not yet seen the rotation of Glimwood Tangle, so you can reflip these coins. Don't say Glimwood Tangle to Joe, it's a bit of a sore subject. And yeah, there's potential here. I just fear it's never quite going to be good enough. But we've also got ourselves a lovely new Tangrowth. 150 HP is very high for a stage 1. 3 energy, 130 ain't gonna do it. 2 energy, 50, heal 30, ain't gonna do it. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. 2 energy is too many, 50 damage is not enough, and healing 30 is not enough. You're gonna be one-hit KO'd fairly often, and it's not gonna work. But may I introduce you to Rapidash. Rapidash is a kind of Pokemon where if it was revealed earlier, it probably would have ended up getting its own video, because this is a legit great card. We're just, Paradigm Trigger is coming out in a couple of days. I don't have time to do all of these cards on their own anymore. Now, the attack is garbage, nobody cares, but the ability is like fully nuts. It lets you discard a fire energy from your hand, and then all damage done to your opponent's active Pokemon by attacks from your fire Pokemon do 30 more damage this turn. It's ridiculous. It's basically Volcanion. Remember Volcanion EX? Remember how Volcanion EX was ridiculous? Yeah, that. Now, Volcanion was a basic, which was brilliant, but Volcanion only buffed up your basic fire Pokemon's attacks, whereas this is a stage 1, but it buffs up any of them. There are fire decks that are not currently good that will become good because of this, and I'm already all over the idea of Victini VMAX. Will Victini VMAX be able to survive in a world where Palkia is a top deck and it's a free prize giving up weak to water Pokemon? I don't know. Maybe not. Don't really care. Love this. Absolutely love this. And I do believe very strongly that we are about to see some ridiculous fire decks coming out, and they are all going to have Rapidash. Rapidash is a redonkulous card. When I said there were some very good cards in this video, I meant Rapidash. But if you want a good partner for Rapidash, might I suggest Victini? Now, what we've got here is single energy, 20 damage, choose up to 2 fire energy from your discard pile and attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you like. It is fine. It's good as an early game Pokemon. What is interesting, of course, is this is also Volcanion. This is the other Volcanion. The other Volcanion for a single energy did 20 damage, and you attached a fire energy from your discard pile to each of 2 of your bench Pokemon. Yeah. This is actually better, because you can attach it to any of your Pokemon, 2 to the same, attach your active, etc., but it's basically the same kind of thing. It's kind of ridiculous. And obviously, if you then buff it up with Rapidash, you could potentially be doing 140 damage here while accelerating energy. That is not to be sniffed at. 2 energy 40 is obviously very, very terrible. Now, we also have Volcarona here to finish off with fire Pokemon. There's nothing really special here. Single energy 40, 2 energy 120, but this Pokemon can't attack next turn, because, 2 energy 120 is so good. No. Now, what I will say is, if you're hitting for weakness, you can use Magma Basin to accelerate that second energy, and it's actually really good if you're hitting for weakness, but it's only good if you're hitting for weakness. Outside of that, I'm afraid it's just not good enough. Now, there is a new Heliolisk coming in this particular set, and what we've got here is single energy 30, not good enough on a stage 1, free energy 150, 50 to yourself, and there's another one of those attacks where free energy on a stage 1 isn't quite good enough, 150 isn't really enough damage, doesn't hit key numbers, and you're self-damaging as well. Yeah, sorry ladies and gentlemen, there isn't enough going on with Heliolisk. But Zera Aura I can get behind. Now, free energy 80, terrible, but it does have free retreat, which is rather lovely. And we've got here single lightning energy, 30 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon is an evolved Pokemon, it does 30 more. Now, I'll be honest with you, even then, you're doing 60 to an evolved Pokemon, 120 when you're hitting for weakness. You know, the most relevant thing you'd potentially be going after here is Inteleon, and you're not getting a KO on Inteleon. But this is where I remind you about Regieleki VMAX, which has got an ability which says that your basic lightning Pokemon do 30 more to your opponent's active. If, and only if, you are playing a Regieleki VMAX deck, this becomes a really good attacker, especially if you're hitting for weakness, because it's a single energy basic Pokemon with free retreat. In a Regieleki VMAX deck, this is absolutely ridiculous. Outside of that, I don't think you can play it. Now, Reuniclus comes in with a rather nice ability, which basically says when it's knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, it goes into your hand rather than being discarded. Just the Pokemon, not the energy or anything else. Downside here, the attack is just 60 to the active and place free damage on 2 of your opponent's bench. It is 120 in total, but it's on 120 HP, which is very low. Stage 2, and it's for 2 energy. And you got to spread the damage around. I like the ability, but I don't like the attack, and there's no point playing this just for the ability, so yeah, cheers for that. Now, as we get into Lycanroc here, I do just need to point out that the Rockruff is an Okacheke Rockruff, and it is, I mean, even in the context of an Okacheke card, this is a stunning piece of artwork. As for the Lycanroc, very interesting card. Fighting Colorless Energy, 240, minus 80 for each energy attached to your opponent's active. Basically, it is a phenomenal card for taking out support Pokemon that aren't going to have energy attached to them. And it is a phenomenal card for taking out low energy Pokemon. And if you're playing around with stuff like Crushing Hammer, it gets pretty good as well. But we all know the reality is that most of the time, the Pokemon that you're attacking are going to have energy attached to them. And that means this is going to do very little. And a lot of the time, this isn't actually going to work. It's a kind of card where you look at it and go, oh, yes! Oh. And then the more you think about it, the worse the card actually gets. Now, Liepard is back in this set. Free energy 110, nobody cares. But 2 energy... Flip 3 coins, 40 for each heads. It's not doing enough damage. Like, even if you flip 3 heads, it's only 120. Honestly, Stage 1 Pokemon single energy 120 is pretty good. But 2 energy and having to flip 3 heads and only really getting it 1 in 8 turns, nah. Now, we do have a new Pangoro coming in here as well. 2 energy, 60 damage, nobody cares. But 3 energy, 160, 30 to itself. And it's like so many of these cards that aren't good. It's kind of, well, I don't want to put free energy on a stage 1. 160 isn't KOing 2 prize Pokemon. And I've got to do 30 to myself. Like, literally all of that sounds bad to me. Sorry. But there is a new Dragalge coming. Could that be any better? Well, 2 energy, 60 damage. No. But for 1 darkness energy, your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. If you evolved from Skrelp during this turn, you put 8 damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon for poison during Pokemon Checkup, the new between turns. Oh, it's not actually new, it's been like that for ages now. And you could work this, use Scoop Up Net to keep evolving. It's alright. But basically, this is one important question. can your opponent get out the active? If they're stuck in the active, really good. If they're not, single energy 80 damage isn't good enough. It's just not. Now, we do have Galarian Berserker making a return here. 3 energy, 90, nobody cares. 2 energy, 30 damage, flip a coin, if heads, 90. No. If that was 2 energy, 90, I wouldn't like it. Like, if it didn't need a coin flip, I wouldn't like it. That tells you everything you need to know about this card. Now, Aggron's a big boy, 180 HP giant. 4 energy, 180. It's actually sneaky bad, because firstly, it's hyper expensive. Secondly, you have a choice about you doing 210, and the magic number for Pokemon V is 220. So that's terrible. But 3 energy, 90 damage. During your opponent's next turn, when this Pokemon receives damage from an attack, put damage counters equal to the damage taken onto the attacking Pokemon. This one I like. It's a stage 2. It's super awkward, let's be perfectly clear. But it also kind of makes your opponent not KO it. And if they do KO it, they've got to do 180. But you've just done at least 90, which means that you're probably getting a KO. So this forces your opponent to either not take a KO, that's a win for you, or take a KO while giving up prizes themselves, that's a win for you. Again, you can play around this, you can gust, you can escape rope, etc. If your opponent can't get this at the active, it's ridiculous. But I do fear most of the time they will be able to play around it. I'm sorry. Now, Zygarde just kind of sneaking back in here. Zygarde just pops up occasionally, you know. Why not? 2 energy, 70 damage, no. But grass energy, 20 damage. Attach a basic from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. And it is any basic energy. It's not but terrible. If you're just looking for a Pokemon to just, you know, poke a little bit of damage while accelerating energy, you're only accelerating 1 energy here, but this is actually not too bad. I could see this seeing a bit of love. Now, Tauros is a very interesting card. You know it's going to be lots of damage, but you've got to be damaged yourself. That's how Tauros works. That's exactly what we've got. 2 energy, 30 damage is terrible, but 3 energy, 180, yes, but you've got to have damage. If this Pokemon doesn't have a damage counter on, this attack does nothing. So yeah, sorry. There is a fun little combo here where you've got powerful colorless energy to do 20 more damage, and we've got that new Archeops which can just accelerate it using its ability, and there is a potential here to load this up with powerful colorless energy and just start KOing Pokemon V, but also 180 HP, you'll still be one-hit KO'd a lot. It's probably not a good use of your energy, and you've got to be damaged in the first place, but it's still a very fun and interesting card. Now, Hisuian Bravery comes in here. Shout out to the lovely Kurimitsu Rufflet, which is beautiful. And this one is okay. 3 energy, 80 damage, plus Confusion is too expensive. But 0 energy, put 3 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon that already have damage counters on. If you're looking to spread a bit of damage around, sure, you got to damage them first, and that's a bit of a pain, blah, blah, blah. But actually, I like this. Just 0 energy, increase all the damage by 3. Yeah, I can get behind that. Now, Gumshoes, I can't get behind. It's not good. 2 energy, 60 damage, or 2 energy, 30 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon move from the active to the bench during your opponent's last turn, this does 120 more damage. And on the one hand, you're like, hang on a second, 150 for 2 energy on a stage 1, yes. But no, I actually don't like it. Here's why I don't like it. Because, firstly, it's 2 energy. Secondly, your opponent can play around it. They can just not switch as much as they would usually do. And thirdly, you're not hitting key numbers here. 150 is not quite enough. So it's one of these that looks really good initially, but the more I think about this again, the more I don't like it. Don't get me wrong, you can get some decent KOs for 2 energy 150, but the fact that it can be played around and the fact that it doesn't hit the key numbers, it's just a bit weird to me, and it's a stage 1. On a basic, I could see this working. Not on a stage 1. Now, Oranguru's a very interesting card, not for the free energy 70, but for one colorless energy. Choose a supporter card in your opponent's discard pile, use that card's effect as this attack. And you're talking a single energy, colorless energy on a basic Pokemon. This can work. I kind of like this. I don't think it's perfect. I like it in control decks, but then you're relying on your opponent playing the right supporter. I like this in the early game if you've got nothing going on. But bearing in mind, if you go second, your opponent can't have played a supporter. And if you go first, you got to wait till your opponent's had a turn before you use this. So your opponent's definitely had a turn by the time you use this. I worry it's a little bit slow. But in a pinch, basic Pokemon, single colorless energy, this could work. Now, in terms of trainer cards, we got ourselves Quad Stone. Now, this is weird, right? If you just play one, you heal 10 from your active Pokemon. It's a terrible, terrible card. But if you play 4 at the same time, you heal all damage from each of your Pokemon. Which is kind of nuts, honestly. Kind of ridiculously nuts. So, yeah, you got to play 4 of them at the same time. So, yeah. I mean, it's very, 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 very much like Missing Clover. Redonkulous card, but you got to play 4 at the same time. So, yeah, that's going to be awkward. We've also got ourselves Worker coming in here. Worker is fine. Draw 3 cards, discard a stadium in play. I mean, look. Discarding a stadium is good. Drawing 3 cards is not good. If you really desperately want to get rid of stadiums, you've got no better way to do it. This will work. It's just not good. I don't think this is going to see much play at all. And finally, we got one stadium in the set. It is Primordial Altar. Now, I'll be honest with you, they seem to have stopped having Kato do the stadiums. There's a few in a row where we've had Onishima. And Onishima's doing good stadiums, but it's not the same. Once during each player's turn, that player may look at the top card of their deck. They may discard that card. I really like this. This is another one of the cards like Rapidash featured in this video that I could see being really, 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 really good. Because look, firstly, if you need a particular card, this can either guarantee you get it or give you a better chance. Because either it's the right card or you discard it and try again. But also, I love it, you know, decks like Regigigas that need energy in the discard pile, this will get that energy in the discard pile. Decks like Wormadam that need Pokemon in the discard pile, this will potentially get them in the discard pile. One of my biggest issues with this, however, is that Pokestop exists. And the thing is, Pokestop already kind of does this. Pokestop is discard the top 3 cards of your deck, and any items go into your hand. So this is better at discarding and it can fetch your items. But Pokestop can also be terrible in some decks because it will discard cards you actually want. So I do think in a lot of ways Pokestop is better, but I do think some decks are going to prefer Primordial Altar, and that's really cool. So yeah, that one's really good. Rapidash is really good. And then there are a bunch of others like Zero Aura, as just one example, that I think could be good. Yes, this was a roundup video, but there are some cards here I think we should be getting a bit excited about. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all of the new cards from Paradigm Trigger. We've now looked at them all, but now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about these. Tell me which ones you think could be good. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Pokemon card games, Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And do please consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel. You can get bonus podcasts where I answer all of your questions. You can join a Discord and chat with us. And you can get shout-outs on the channel like the lovely Andy White, who has been a supporter of ours for quite a while now and is a very, very, very lovely person. So thank you very much for the support and for being a very lovely person. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross and you've been watching PTCG Radio.